Okay, so we're continuing on with the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we've been in the middle of a conversation. The topic that we're moving out of a little bit, but he's going to pick up again with it here in a minute, is this idea of service um, in the face of God alone being the doer, and he's saying that even even a realized soul will help, will by his nature will alleviate suffering, but from his perspective he knows that God alone is the doer, so he knows that nature that inspires that movement is not himself but the presence of that divinity within that, the self. And so he leaves it at that, and remains the observer. As the practice for a jnani, he remains the observer of that action. And you know, Thakur poked a little bit of fun, saying, yes, you should alleviate suffering if it's within your power to do so. Uh, that's your nature, but it's not the point of things. He says, when you see God, what are you going to ask him to build reservoirs and schools? It's like, no, because you will have woken up at that point and you'll see the whole picture. You'll see the big picture. And so now he's going to pick up and talk more about these great souls in response to that question. He says, the great souls, deeply affected by the sufferings of men, show them the way to God. Shankaracharya kept the ego of knowledge in order to teach mankind. The gift of knowledge and devotion is far superior to the gift of food. Therefore, Chaitanya Deva distributed bhakti to all, including the outcast. Happiness and suffering are the inevitable characteristics of the body. You have come to eat mangoes. Fulfill that desire. The one thing needful is jnana and bhakti. God alone is substance. All else is illusory. All right, so there we have it, our theme. The one thing needful is jnana and bhakti. He doesn't say the two things needful. He says the one thing needful is jnana and bhakti. So bhakti is the main emphasis, and we use our jnana to support that bhakti, to keep us even keeled so that we don't become sentimental or purely emotional, that we do have some structure and some uh, strength in what we think and what we know inside. So he gives it some roots, some foundations, some things that are solid to stand on. God alone is the substance. Everything else is illusory. So this is a very interesting statement, and it's one that I've really been trying to remind myself about. I was telling you that for the last, I don't know how long it's been, not that long, a month or two, waking up in the morning and sitting there and kind of reminding myself that I'm entering into Mother's dream. That this world is a dream. It's the dream in the universal mind, and it's a shared dream. But we each we each create our own out of that template by the way that we perceive things, by what we think we are, by what our ego is telling us, what our samskaras have told us, what our experiences have taught us. All of that gives us a perspective on the reality that isn't real. It's actually the perspective that is illusory, not the thing itself. Because the thing itself, he's saying here, is that God is the substance. So what is everything made of? Everything is ultimately made of God. And I'm going to take it a step further for fun and say, pure mind and Brahman are one and the same, Thakur says. And so really what we're seeing here is the same thing that we see in a dream. In a dream, we're seeing, you'll see bricks and wood and water and sky and air and all of that in a dream. But what are you actually witnessing in the dream? You're not witnessing water. You're not witnessing air or bricks or stone or trees. All of it is made of mind stuff, made of your imagination, as it were. But something is creating those things, and it's creating them as wood, and as stone, and yet they are not, right? And we know that that's even true in the waking state, because we've had that conversation many times, that your mind takes impulse from the senses and creates a symbol for what it's seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, or smelling, right? And so this world is equally a projection of mind, in much the same way as the dream world. And it is God alone that is the substance. So, this chair is composed of God, and the air that you reach through to get to that chair is composed of God. That he or she or that is the substance. It is not as it seems. This is not a fake velvet from Wayfair. This is the divine right here. And it's no wonder that once we see the world as it is, once we see it not as the Wayfair chair, that I got on bargain sale online, that we see God. And this is exactly why Thakur would go into ecstasy, go into samadhi. When his mind would clear, someone would say something that would clear, put a hole in his egoism, which was very, very thin for him, but barely existent. It was just dependent on one or two desires at a time to keep him in a body and to keep him as a teacher and as a lover of mankind. But when that would be pushed aside because somebody would say Krishna, or some, British kid standing against a tree with his arm in the same form as Krishna playing the flute, he would be reminded of that, and that ignorance would get pushed aside, and boom, he's in samadhi, he's in ecstasy, because in that moment he is seeing God everywhere. He's not even seeing the God as chair thing. Did you ever see the Matrix, and how really all of the substance is in the Matrix? When you see it as the Matrix, it's just green letters falling down over the couch, over the chair, over the window. It's just these green computer code. It strips away the illusion of Maya, or of the reality. And so I like that movie for that reason, in that it's very Vedantic, in the sense that we do wake up from a dream, but in the movie, unfortunately, they wake up to hell, where they're being hunted by machines. In reality, we wake up to bliss. We wake up to perfection, to the very essence of beauty and love. And he says here, he makes this statement, a very clear sentence: it is God alone who does everything. And this is one of the ways that you begin practicing seeing that you're not the doer, right? So that when we sit there and do whatever, like you're washing dishes is a great one, because it doesn't take any concentration at all to wash dishes. So you can sit there and be washing the dishes one at a time and be repeating this in your mind. It is God alone who does everything. And then practice, try and withdraw your sense of doership. Just watch your hands move. Watch your mind, your eyes glance for the next object. Watch the mind pick one, and then watch the hands take it, and watch the sponge, wash it, and watch it be rinsed it, and watch it go into the thing. And practice being the observer, while at the same time repeating, it is God alone who does everything. And little by little, this is how we begin to see. This is how we dehypnotize our wrong thinking, right? So that we can see things as they are. I often wonder, a baby, when they're first born, when they're just fresh, just days old, and they look around, you can see that non-committal wonder in their face, they're not looking at specifics, that you can see that they're just like, they're just seeing everything. And there's just wonder in their eyes. They haven't yet named the objects, and haven't yet learned how to define the boundaries between things. They haven't yet learned that that this is my body. Those are my toes. These are my fingers. And so they're still seeing a unity, and they're still working it out. And, it's possible for us to have that same understanding, to see things as God, to see that it is God alone that is doing everything. It just takes practice. Practice, which means, like, remember that story I tell the young boy at the Phoenix airport who's doing the car game, the car video game, and it's going around a track, and he's steering it and convinced that he's keeping it on the track, but he didn't put a quarter in. So it's just doing it on demo mode. But because his will and the computer's will align in that the car is going to stay on this track, he gets the illusion that he's keeping it on that track and doesn't want to let go because his dad is calling him to come to the gate. The plane is getting ready to board. And so we can do that same thing. What was his practice was to let go of the handlebars, let go of the steering wheel, actually, and witness the fact that, look, it still goes, even if I withdraw my will from it, even if I withdraw my hand from the steering wheel. And so you can do these practices and observe the same thing, that you can become the observer of dishes being washed by the hands that you have claimed as yours. But you can see the mind and the body working in close proximity to each other take care of the whole thing. You are not really the necessary element there, right? And that which is you that is necessary, the thing that keeps the body able to move and the mind able to think, is the presence, is God, right? And that is you, but not as a particular, not in the small sense, not in only this, but you are as much that as everything that you're witnessing is that. So it is God alone who does everything. You may say that in that case, man may commit sin, right? Oh, if it's God, then I'll blame him. But that is not true. If a man is firmly convinced that God alone is the doer and that he himself is nothing, then he will never make a false step, right? Because if thou art that, who is it that's desiring ignorance, right? There's nothing there to desire ignorance. And so the man who knows, the woman who knows themselves to be divine, their litany of sins doesn't come up as options. Those things have dropped away. That's why they are able to know that they are that they are that divinity. And there is no sense of I. And to be able to understand that God is everything is a withdrawal from body-mind. And we've already learned several classes back that all desires arise from either the body or the mind, that there are no desires that arise from the self. The self is always content. The self is always in the presence of the divine. So he never makes a false step. It is God alone who has planted in man's mind what the Englishman calls free will. People have not realized God, would become engaged in more and more sinful actions if God had not planted in them the notion of free will. Sin would have increased if God had not made the sinner feel that he alone was responsible for his sin. Right? So God has placed that ego within us. The Divine Mother has placed egoism within us. And what is egoism? Egoism is a sense of doership and a sense of responsibility for what is done. Those two things are the elements, the raw elements of karma, right? The belief that you're doing something and the belief that you are the doer, that you are creating the action, that you're responsible for what happens from what you do. And, if we, in our ignorant state, didn't have that sense of responsibility, we would be psychotic. We would run around just doing everything, whatever the senses led us to, whatever we wanted to, without any thought, because we would not have that sense of ownership, that sense of responsibility of our actions, if we were not given that egoistic idea that we are the body and that we are the mind. Those who have realized God are aware that free will is a mere appearance. So if you're wondering, here's the answer. Thousands of years of philosophical debate have just been wiped off the table. Free will is a mere appearance. In reality, man is the machine and God its operator. Man is the carriage and God is the driver. Right? Is everybody going to accept that? As the ultimate truth? The thing that really made me able to accept it was this notion of reading a book. People say, well, if there's no free will, then what's life about? What's the point of living? Well, you look at a book, there's no free will in a book. The book is already written, it's going to run exactly one way. And every time you read it, it's going to turn out in exactly the same way. And yet you read it. Why? Because you're unaware, right? You don't know what the outcome is. And so there's an interest in it. And so you read the book, even though it's not, there is no free will for the characters, even though it is already written and already done, you still read it. And sometimes you'll read it a second time, right? And so it's not free will that keeps us interested in the game, right? It's not as detrimental as we often think when we think, God, there's no free will. Am I just a slave? Well, you are a slave, but it's to your senses. Once you know that you're not even this body or mind, and that you are the container of the entire dream, and that all potential lies within yourself, uh, you don't need to read the book. The whole book is within you. It was about 4 o'clock. Rakal and several other devotees were listening to a kirtan by M in the hut at the Panchavati. Rakal went into a spiritual mood while listening to the devotional song. After a while, the master came to the Panchavati accompanied by Babaram and Harish. Other devotees followed. Rakal, how well he, referring to M, sang kirtan for us. Ah, he made us all very happy. The master sang in an ecstatic mood. Oh, friends, how great is my relief to hear you chanting Krishna's name. Right? Can you just imagine? Because he really felt, he was everybody's father or big brother or lover. I mean, just that love and compassion that he felt for everybody, to see them actually chanting Krishna's name, to actually be doing their practice and actually turning their minds, over to the beloved. It probably was deeply wonderful for him to see that, to experience that. To the devotees, he said, always sing devotional songs. Continuing, he said, to love God and live in the company of the devotees. That is all. Right? So there you all. Thakur to Thakur, in his teaching here, all of life is just to love God and to live in the company of devotees. That's all. Because in loving God, that touches everything that's around you. And when you know that that's what you're working with and that's what you're living in, and you know its nature, and you draw out all of those implications, that is the fulfillment of life. That's the fulfillment of the moment, right? Love is that one thing that we desperately seek in everything that we do. We're always following love, even our desires. We've been convinced that we love them, that we want them, that they give something to us. And it's not till we discern that we realize it's always God in those things that attracts us to them. What more is there? He said again, when Krishna went to Mathura, Yashoda and came to Radha, who was absorbed in meditation. Afterward, Radha said to Yashoda, I am the primordial energy. Ask a boon of me. What other boon shall I ask of you? Said Yashoda. Only bless me that I may serve God with my body, my mind, and my tongue, that I may behold his devotees with these eyes, that I may meditate on him with this mind, and that I may chant his name in glories with this tongue. Right? So given, the mother of the universe, who is the primordial energy, which is Maya, this world that we live in, the universe, and gives him a boon. You can ask for anything. It's quite something that he would say, what do I want? It's like when Mother and Radha were shown the Raja's great treasure trove, right? And the only thing, Mother didn't want anything. And so she asked Radhu, and Radhu was like, yeah, I need a pencil. Is that just fantastic? In this world, that's what it's like to be free, to look around. Nothing is necessary. Nothing is needed. It's enough to just be and see God everywhere, to see the play. and to know that the subject of that play is always love. Only bless me that I may serve God with my body, mind, and tongue, that I may behold his devotees with these eyes, that I may meditate on him with this mind, and that I may chant his name with this tongue. What an amazing thing. Just to open to that kind of purity, just to even see that. But those who are firmly established in God may do as well without the devotees. This is true of those who feel the presence of God both within and without. Sometimes they don't enjoy the devotees or the devotees' company. You don't whitewash a wall inlaid with mother of pearl. The lime won't stick. You see what he's saying there. You know, you don't need the company of devotees. You don't desire the company of devotees, because to see them as devotees is to see them as separate from God. And if you've had that vision of knowing that all of it is God, you don't want to see the devotees. You don't want to spend time with devotees, because that's the same as whitewashing a gold wall. It's like you're not they're yeah. I mean, the most beautiful thing you can see and experience is the divine. And when that's your experience, you don't necessarily want to return to seeing things as separate and apart. The master returned presently from the Panchavati, talking to M. Master, you have the voice of a woman. Can't you practice a song such as this? Tell me, friend, how far is the grove where Krishna, my beloved, dwells? I love that. So M had the voice of a woman. And so Thakur wants him to sing as Krishna's handmaid. To M, pointing to Babaram, you see, my own people have become strangers. Ramlal and my other relatives seem to be foreigners, and strangers have become my own. Don't you notice how I tell Babaram to go and wash his face? The devotees have become relatives. That's the very goal of it. That's what Swami Prabhupada was trying to tell me early on in my when I first moved into the monastery. He told me it several times, actually, because it was an extremely difficult thing to renounce my family. I wasn't allowed to go home to my house to visit for 12 years. And my parents were allowed to call me, but I couldn't initiate contact. And, my mother, every time for 10 years, literally every time she called, she was in tears by the end of the conversation, because she took it all so personally, as if it was a judgment of her. And it broke my heart over and over and over again. I would sit there at the lunch table. I asked Prabhutanandaji, Maharaj, why? Why is it required that I hurt my mother so terribly much just to be a monk? And he said, yes, it is difficult, but see, it will come back in tenfold for her and for you as you mature, because as you mature, everybody first, the monk, that's the difference between the two paths, the householder and the monk. The monk pushes everybody back to arm's length, and then practices seeing everybody as the divine, everybody as the beloved, and then slowly brings everybody forward at the same level, so that everybody is your mother, everybody is your brother, everybody is your son or your daughter, and to work and have that perspective of life. And so he says, so if you really love your mother and it really hurts you to hurt her, reach the goal, do the work, do your practice, be true to your vows, be true to your intention, be true to this life. And he said that everybody in the end will celebrate this renunciation. So he's telling us, showing us here, he says, everyone, to the devotees, they've all become my relatives. And my relatives have become strangers in that sense. Their relatives have been pushed back, and everybody has been brought forward. looking at the Panchavati. I used to sit there. In the course of time, I became mad. That phase also passed away. Kala, Shiva, is Brahman. That which sports with Kala is Kali, the primal energy. Kali moves even the immutable. Saying this, the master sang, my mind is overwhelmed with wonder, pondering the mother's mystery. Her very name removes the fear of Kala, death himself. Beneath her feet lies Mahakala. Then he said to M, today is Saturday. Go to the temple of Kali. As the master came to the bakul tree, he spoke to M again. Chidatma and Chit Shakti. The Purusha is the Chit Atma. The Prakriti is the Chit Shakti. Sri Krishna is the Chit Atma, and Sri Radha the Chit Shakti. The devotees are so many forms of Chit Shakti. They should think of themselves as companions or handmaids of the Chit Shakti, Sri Radha. This is the whole gist of the thing, right? So we've got that primal, that Purusha, that absolute unchanging, and we've got Prakriti, the changing. And he's saying that all the devotees, we are just forms of that Shakti. We should think of ourselves as handmaids of that Shakti. Sri Radha is, in this case, under the with Krishna being the ideal, Radha is Shakti. For us, Ramakrishna is the ideal, and so Sri Sharada becomes the Shakti, the Divine Mother. But we know that it was Thakur that came as Rama. Thakur that was one of the only time I think that he actually said, that he who was Rama and he who was Krishna is now Ramakrishna before you, and not in your Vedantic sense. Meaning that not just because we're all one, that literally it was this that was embodied as Rama and Krishna. So to see that, to think of ourselves as companions or handmaidens of the Divine Mother or of God, that's why even the Bible says, what is the whole point of life? It's enjoy your work and walk humbly with your beloved, with your God. And so this is what we're doing. We're learning to enjoy our work through our practice. That's what our practice is all about. It's learning to enjoy this world without getting stuck in it. So that's what we do while we're here, and we walk humbly with our God. We enjoy our time with the beloved. We enjoy the exercise of growth and learning to see and understand the nature of the world we live in, the nature of the self. That is our ultimate self. And this is beautiful, and this is enough, because the love behind it all is infinite, right? And you will never finish falling in love with your beloved. With the divine, you'll never fully know. You'll never fully love. You'll fall infinitely into infinity, learning more about love forever. This is the whole gist of the thing. After dusk, Sri Ramakrishna went to the Kali temple and was pleased to see M meditating there. The evening worship was over in the temples. The master returned to his room and sat on the couch, absorbed in meditation on the Divine Mother. M sat on the floor. There was no one else in the room. The master was in samadhi. Boy, can you just place yourself in that position? No one else in the room, just you and God. And God is in samadhi. That atmosphere is thick in that room. He's unmoving, the look, that bliss that they always talked about on his face, that just divine, shining beauty in his face when he was in samadhi. And you just sitting there alone, completely transfixed, feeling it, that electrical resonance between the divine image in you and its direct and purest manifestation right in front of you. That must have just been like just electrical, just amazing. There was no one else in the room. The master was in samadhi. He began to come gradually down to the normal plane. His mind was still filled with the consciousness of the Divine Mother. In that state, he was speaking to her like a small child, making importunate demands on his mother. He said in a piteous voice, "Mother, why haven't you revealed to me that form of yours, the form that bewitches the world? I pleaded with you so much for it, but you wouldn't listen to me. Yet you act as you please." The voice in which these words were uttered was very touching. He went on, "Mother, one needs faith. Away from this wretched reasoning. Let it be blighted. One needs faith. Faith in the words of the Guru, a childlike faith. The mother says to her child, a ghost lives there. And the child, he's firmly convinced that a ghost lives there. Again, the mother says to the child, a boogeyman is there. And the child is sure of it. Further, the mother says, pointing to a man, he is your elder brother. And that child believes that the man is 125% his elder brother. One needs faith. But why should I blame them, Mother? What can they do? It is necessary to go through reasoning once. Didn't you see how much I told him about it the other day? But it all proved useless. The master was weeping, praying to the mother in a voice choked with emotion. He prayed to her with tearful eyes for the welfare of the devotees. Mother, may those who come to you have all their desires fulfilled, but please, don't make them give up everything at once, Mother. Well, you could do whatever you like in the end. If you keep them in the world, Mother, then please reveal yourself to them now and then. Otherwise, how will they live? How will they be encouraged if they don't see you once in a while? But you may do whatever you like in the end. You know, it's amazing because here he is talking, I think, about M, but we don't really know. You know, saying, look how much I told him about it the other day, but it all proved useless. And the next sentence, the master is weeping. That's intense. He gave his real heart in that teaching. You know, he's pouring all of these things out to us. And how harsh to say it proved useless. What have they done? They didn't even hear it. They went right back and lived the same day tomorrow that they lived today. And then he prays for us that we can see Mother every now and then and get some encouragement that he knows Mother will do as she does. The master was still in the ecstatic mood, and suddenly he said to M, look here, you've had enough reasoning. No more of it. Promise, just promise you won't reason anymore. M with folded hands. Yes, sir, I won't. Master, you've had enough of it. When you came to me the first time, I told you your spiritual ideal. I know everything about you, do I not? Yes, sir. Yes, I know everything. What your ideal is, who you are, your inside and your outside, the events of your past lives, your entire future. Do I not? M. Yes, sir. Master, I scolded you on learning that you had a son. Now go home and live there. Let them know that you belong to them, but you must remember in your heart of hearts that you do not belong to them, nor they to you. M sat in silence. The master went on instructing him. Master, you have now learned to fly, but keep your loving relationship with your father. Can't you prostrate yourself before him? Yes, sir, I can. What more shall I tell you? You know everything. You understand, don't you? M sat there without uttering a word. You've understood, haven't you? Yes, sir. I now understand a little. No, you understand a great deal. Rakal's father is pleased about his staying here. M remained with folded hands. Master, yes, what you are thinking will also come to pass. Sri Ramakrishna now came down to the normal state of mind. Rakal and Ramlal entered the room. At the master's bidding, Ramlal sang, "Who is the woman yonder who lights the field of battle? Darker her body gleams even than the darkest storm cloud, and from her teeth there flash the lightning's blinding flames." He sang again, "Who is this terrible woman, dark as the sky at midnight? Who is this woman dancing over this field of battle?" Master, the Divine Mother and the earthly mother. It is the Divine Mother who exists in the form of the universe and pervades everything as consciousness. The earthly mother gives birth to this body. I used to go into samadhi uttering the word Ma. While repeating the word, I would draw the mother of the universe to me, as it were, like the fishermen casting their net and after a while drawing it in. When they draw in the net, they find big fish inside it. Gauri once said that one attains true knowledge when one realizes the identity of Kali and Gauranga. That which is Brahman is also Shakti, Kali. It is that, again, which, assuming the human form, has become Gauranga. At the master's request, Ramlal sang again, this time about Gauranga. The master to M. The Nitya and the Leela are the two aspects of the reality. Right? God plays in the world as man for the sake of his devotees. They can love God only if they see him in a human form. Only then can they show their affection to him as their brother, their sister, their father, their mother, or their child. It is just for this love of the devotees that God contracts himself into a human form and descends on earth to play his Leela. So that's the only reason for all of this, is because of God's love for us, for this, for all of it, that expression. He is that love. He wants to express that love. And when that divine absolute expresses, all of this comes. we all suddenly have our egos and our bodies and our minds, and we play and dance with the divine. Chapter 19. The Master and his injured arm. It's Saturday, February 2nd, 1884. It was 3:00 in the afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna had been conversing with Rakal, Mahimacharan, Hazra, and the other devotees when M entered the room and saluted him. He brought with him a splint, pad, and lint to bandage the master's injured arm. One day, while going toward the pine grove, Sri Ramakrishna had fallen near the railing and dislocated a bone in his left arm. He had been in an ecstatic mood at the time, and no one had been with him. The master to M. Hello, what's ailing you? Are you quite well now? M. Yes, sir, I am. I'm right well now. Master to Mahima. Well, if I am the machine and God is the operator, then why did this happen to me? Why? Doesn't he know how to drive? So if I'm the machine and God is the operator, then why should this have happened to me? The master was sitting on the couch listening to the story of Mahimacharan's pilgrimage. Mahima had visited several holy places 12 years before. Mahima. I found a brahmachari in a garden at Sikrol in Benares. He said that he had been living there for 20 years, but did not know its owner. He asked me if I worked in an office. On my answering in the negative, he said, "Then are you a wandering holy man?" I saw a sadhu on the bank of the Narmada. He repeated the Gayatri mentally. It so thrilled him that the hair on his body stood on end. And when he repeated the Gayatri and Om aloud, it thrilled those who were sitting near him and caused their hair to stand on end. The master was in the mood of a child. Being hungry, he said to him, "What have you brought for me?" Looking at Rakal, he went into samadhi. He was gradually coming down to the normal plane. To bring his mind back to the consciousness of the body, he said, "I shall eat some jalebi. I will drink some water." Weeping like a child, he said to the Divine Mother, "O Brahmamai, O Mother, why have you done this to me? My arm, it's badly hurt." To the devotees, "Is it going to be all right again?" They consoled him as one would a child and said, "Surely, you'll be quite well again." Master to Rakal, "You aren't to blame for it, though you are living here to look after me." That's such a mom thing to say right there. You aren't to blame for it, though you were the one here to look after me. For even if you had accompanied me, you certainly wouldn't have gone up to the railing. The master again went into a spiritual mood and said, "Om, Om, Om. Mother, what is this that I'm saying? Don't make me unconscious, Mother, with the knowledge of Brahman. Don't give me Brahmagyana. I am but your child. I'm easily worried and frightened. I want a mother. A million salutations to the knowledge of Brahman. Give it to those who seek it. Oh, Anandamayi, oh, my blissful mother." Uttering loudly the word Anandamayi, he burst into tears and said, "Mother, this is the grief that sorely grieves my heart. That even with you for mother, and though I'm wide awake, there should be robbery in my house." Again he said to the Divine Mother, "What wrong have I done, Mother? Did I ever do anything? It's you, Mother, you who does everything. I'm the machine. You are its operator." To Rakal, smiling, "See that you don't fall. Don't be piqued and cheat yourself." Again, addressing the mother, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Do I weep because I'm hurt? Not at all, Mother. This is the grief that solely grieves my heart, that even you for a mother, and though I'm wide awake, there should be robbery in my house." The master was again talking and laughing like a child who, though ailing, sometimes forgets his illness and laughs and plays about. The master to the devotees, "It will avail you nothing unless you realize Satchitananda. There is nothing like discrimination and renunciation. The worldly man's devotion to God is momentary, like a drop of water on a red-hot frying pan. Perchance he looks at a flower and exclaims, "Ah, what a beautiful creation of God." One must be restless for God. If a son clamors persistently for his share of the property, his parents consult with each other, and they give it to him, even though he is a minor. God will certainly listen to your prayers if you feel restless for him. Since he has begotten us, surely we can claim our inheritance from him. He is our own father, our own mother. We can force our demand on him. We can say to him, "Reveal yourself to me, or I will cut my throat with a knife." Sri Ramakrishna taught the devotees how to call on the Divine Mother. Master, I used to pray to her in this way, "O Mother, O blissful one, reveal yourself to me. You must. Again, I would say to her, O Lord of the lowly, Lord of the universe, surely I am not outside your universe. I'm bereft of knowledge. I'm without discipline. I have no devotion. I know nothing. You must be gracious and reveal yourself to me. Thus, the master taught the devotees how to pray. They were deeply touched. Tears filled Mahimacharan's eyes. Sri Ramakrishna looked at him and sang, cry to your mother Shyama with a real cry, O mind. And how can she hold herself from you? How can Shyama stay away? Several devotees arrived from Shibpur. Since they had come from a great distance, the master could not disappoint them. He told them some of the essentials of spiritual life. God alone is real. Everything else is illusory. The garden and its owner, God and his splendor. But people look at the garden only. How few seek the owner. The devotee, sir, what is the way? Master, discrimination between the real and the unreal. One should always discriminate to the effect that God alone is real, the world unreal, and one should pray with a sincere longing. Devotee, but sir, where is our leisure for these things? Master, those who have the time must meditate and worship, but those who cannot possibly do so must bow down wholeheartedly to God twice a day. He abides in the hearts of all. He knows that worldly people have many things to do. What else is possible for them? You don't have time to pray to God? Therefore give him the power of attorney. But all of this is in vain unless you attain God and see him. Another devotee, sir, to see you is the same as to see God. Master, don't ever say that again. The waves belong to the Ganges, not the Ganges to the waves. A man cannot realize God unless he gets rid of all such egotistic ideas as I am such an important man or I am so and so. Level the mound of I to the ground by dissolving it with your tears of devotion. Why has God put us in this world, Master? To perpetuate his creation. It is his will, his Maya. He has deluded man with woman and gold, lust and greed. Devotee, why? Why has he deluded us? Why has he so willed? Master, if but once he should give man a taste of divine joy, then man would not care to lead a worldly life. The creation would come to an end. The grain dealer stores rice in huge bags in his warehouse. Near them, he puts just some puffed rice in a tray. This is to keep the rats away. The puffed rice tastes sweet to the rats, and they nibble at it all night long. They do not seek the rice itself. But just think, one seer of rice yields 14 seers of puffed rice. How infinitely superior is the joy of God to the pleasures of lust and greed. To one who thinks of the beauty of God, the beauty of even Rambha and Tilottama appears as but ashes of a funeral pyre. All right. Stop there for the evening.